I found the king, reading about the king, to be probably the most inspiring, personally.
Yeah.
And just to say a few things about the king energy is healing and life-giving. The king is about renewal. The king is centered, structured, and calm. He cares about principles and laws. He's the key to peace, calm, order. He's reasonable, has a sense of integrity, and he's balanced. There's a passage from the book that I thought was just not possible to leave out. It's so good. It says, the king defends our own sense of inner order, our own integrity of being and of purpose, our own central calmness about who we are, and our essential unassailability and certainty in our masculine identity. It looks upon the world with a firm but kindly eye. It sees others and all their weakness and all their talent and worth. It honors them and promotes them. It guides them and nurtures them towards their own fullness of being. It is not envious because it is secure as the king in its own worth. It rewards and encourages creativity in us and others. Yeah, I feel like that's a really, really good overview of what the king is.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, the king is looking to find that harmony and that order, working in conjunction with the warrior as well. You know, that same energy that's used to protect his borders, protect the people, the land, and living according to the way, the Tao, the Dharma, you know, so that the land can fully flourish as well. Being able to bring in that fertility and that blessing, also embodying that masculine equivalent of the Great Mother, and you know, being married to the land, you know, having that vitality, that sexuality, you know, that's directly reflected in his kingdom as well. You know, the kingdom is it's living, you know, that happily ever after on all aspects, and how do we maintain that state of peace within the land.
Yeah, he's very much the holding place for balance of everything. And one of the things I said is he's the central artery that allows life to flow into the human world. And I kind of look at it as like, if you think of it in terms of consciousness, if you think of like the observer, it's kind of like that aspect of allowing your expression to flow through. It's like the decider of all things. Mm-hmm. And one thing that really stuck out to me about the king was the good king always mirrored and affirmed others who deserved it, promoting good men to positions of responsibility and bestowing honors. And then I also ended up reading that our bodies change chemically when we feel valued, praised, and blessed. Blessings heal us and make us feel whole.
Yeah, he's selfless. You know, he's well-rounded.
Absolutely.
He knows when the right archetype is needed, and he calls it out when necessary. But also, you know, when he's moving forward, he's in his thoughts and in his daily activities, he's also putting the good of his people above even his own needs, because really that's ultimately where his service lies, is towards the good of his people.
Yeah, some of the other attributes that I wrote are stability and centeredness, vitality and joy. I think that there's a very important aspect of the king, which is that ability to know who we are and know where our worth is and be calm in that. And at the same time, seeing that in other people and really encouraging that. There's an incredible balance of that, because through that, it's like we were saying earlier, it's like, you know, giving yourself your blessing to be your best version. The part of you that does that is the king archetype. You're saying like, yes, I give you my blessing to express yourself, to be you, to be your true self.
Yeah, and in that same breath too, you know, being the king, knowing that, really being in touch with your mortality, knowing that, hey, I'm here to rule, and this is how I'm meant to rule for this time, for my time on this earth, this planet. But really understanding that, you know, kind of the term, you know, the king is dead, long live the king. It's in essence saying, well, yes, I am the king of my domain now, but once I die, there will be another king that will follow me. And so really walking in a sense of humility of that, not saying, well, hey, I'm going to die, so whatever, but more, yeah, so I am humbly moving along with my purpose, understanding that I am not the end-all be-all.
And I think there's a really big aspect of realizing that this continues on, and whatever the king does while, you know, during this small period that he's here echoes out into eternity, you know.
Right.
So it's like everything that he does is very important. It's important that he is genuine, the way that he interacts with people. I think this is why it's so important that he's encouraging and affirming of other people, is because you are bringing out the best in everyone, and you are creating this sense of whatever it is in your kingdom. Are you creating heaven on earth, or are you creating hell on earth? And whatever it is after your death is what continues to echo out. And I think it's like that wisdom.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect way to step into the shadow sides of the king, which are, you know, the tyrant and the weakling.
The high chair tyrant, the tyrant and the weakling prince. The tyrant, I remember this image of the high chair tyrant being like the baby that's in the, you know, like the mom is feeding him food and he's like throwing it at her and stuff, and like, no, that's not what I want. I wanted this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny if you watch children too, because you'll watch this bipolarity happen where they'll be like that doing a fit, and then all of a sudden they're the weakling crying. I can't even, you know, it's like they'll be like walking up the stairs and fall down like they got mortally like wounded like so bad, you know, and then it's like it's just to get your attention for something, and then 2 seconds later they're totally fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's about that way of manipulation.
Right, and like the high chair tyrant, what's mentioned in the book is Little Lord Fauntleroy, if you've ever heard of that story, where, you know, he is he's this young king who is ruling just very, very tyrannically, and nothing pleases him, but yet at the same time he's angry all the time. And there's really no reason or sense as to why. It just is, that's the way that he rules, and you know, that's he's not happy, and he's never satisfied, and nobody around him, none of his people are happy under his rule either.
And I think there's the reflection of, it really is a mirrored reflection of when you are able to recognize your own worth. And once again, this is why I think that was so important. When you recognize your own value and who you are inherently, because you exist, and because you, like, we all have value, we all have something, like all of us are worthy, you know. And whenever you see that in yourself, then you can mirror that to other people. And I think the high chair tyrant and the weakling prince are mirroring an inner reflection of not having that for themselves. You know, I don't believe that I'm worthy, and so neither are you. And, you know, that's why that happens.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good way. Maybe we go a little bit more into just the tyrant themselves on that shadow side. So the tyrant, of course, you know, contrary to the king, really isn't the harmonizing center of the kingdom. They're the one where their power is really fragile, actually. And so the way, that they move around is because they hate that passion for all life and beauty and purity, and any of that purity, like say of a baby, or that beauty, anything that is good, it actually threatens the existence of that tyrant, and so then it becomes the adversary. And that's really where, instead of realizing that they can be a channel and share that channel of divinity with all, they cut that off and they want that power for themselves. And anybody else who has that power or exhibits maybe essences of threat towards their authority and their control over that power, then it's off with their heads.
Mm-hmm. And that makes me think of how I was saying he's the central artery that allows life to flow into the human world. And if you imagine a kingdom and there is the tyrant and he's saying, no, it's going to be under my control, it's going to be my way, it's kind of like cutting off it's kind of like constricting the flow of blood, of life force throughout the whole kingdom, and then eventually the whole kingdom suffocates and collapses.
Right. All withers and dies. Right. Yeah, and
it's interesting how it's like restricting. There's this insecurity that I've got to hold on to everything, and there's not enough abundance for life to flow around. I've got to control every little thing, and in doing that, that's what ends up killing everything. That you're not having the flow,
right?
You're not having the new blood and new oxygen and new life.
Yeah, and there's really no sense of humility either with a tyrant. It's any form of criticism is unwelcome.
Right.
Even constructive criticism is extremely sensitive to it, and would be deflated by even a remark of, hey, you've got an eyelash on your cheek, that, what? Oh my God, yeah, you're horrible, and we're just gonna make you feel like the most horrible person. And that in itself is the rage that then that tyrant responds back with. But in reality, what it is that it's masking that fear and that vulnerability, that they're feeling in that moment.
There's a really good story that showcases the shadows really well, and it's the story of King Saul, where when he was first, for a while they didn't have a king, right? And they were looking at, it was like the Israelites or whatever, right? They were looking at other empires and stuff, and they're like, these people have a king, we need to have a king, right? And then they decide on Saul, who's like this farmer, right? He's like this farmer's son or whatever, this handsome guy. But anyway, when they first decide that he's going to be king, he just goes back to the field. He's not even like around. He's kind of this shy, timid, whatever, right? So it's kind of like almost like, at that sense, you kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of maybe there's a little bit of the insecurity that would maybe be the weakling, right?
Right.
And then he's having these crazy dreams, and then David comes along, and he's interpreting his dreams for him. He's playing music for him and all of this stuff. And there's Goliath, like this guy that they're like trying to fight against or whatever, and like they're afraid. And David, when he was little, they say he's like killing lions and bears with a sling, right? And so King Saul sends David out to fight this guy, and he's like knowing that this kid's probably gonna die, but he doesn't have enough courage to go fight it himself, but he'll send this little boy out to fight him. And then when David wins the battle, and then over time becomes like it wins like several battles for him, and kind of becomes this very well respected leader. Well, Saul becomes jealous, and there's like several times in the story where they're like having dinner and Saul tries to kill him,
right,
or like throws a spear at him or something.
Yeah.
And that's the tyrant coming out. And isn't it so funny, because it's like at first he's the weakling. Oh, I can't go out and fight this. I'll send a little boy to go do it. And then he becomes successful. And then instead of affirming him and encouraging him and look at all the great things you've done for my empire, he's he's like, I'm jealous of you and what you've done, and I'm gonna kill you.
And now you're a threat to my existence.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Right.
a very great embodiment. That's essentially it.
Is that it for the shadows?
Yeah, I would say that pretty much covers it. It was a great way to close that out, and then move into the ways that we can embody the king in its more fullness.
Cool.
Yeah.
For myself personally, I think, it says that the mortal king's first responsibility is to live according to the Tao or to Dharma or whatever it is. Tao actually means the way, and it's not really even translatable, but it's essentially having a sort of oath to a greater way to live with the world in a way that's coexisting and harmonious, and in a way that allows life to flourish and the kingdom to flourish. And I think the biggest way that we access the king is seeing our own divinity within ourselves and having that calmness in who we are. And there's this song there that I love by Alan Stone that says, just keep your dirt on the surface. Just keep your dirt on the surface and love where you're at. And I really think that is just the crucial aspect of the king, like just being like, it's okay where I'm at and whatever, and it's who I am and what I have to offer in this moment is enough, and it's always enough. And in that practice, I think that's accessing the king, and as we do that, we can share that gift with other people. And as we see our own struggles and everything that we're going on with, we can have compassion with ourselves and extend that out to the world, to the kingdom.
Right, doing your best every day to ensure that, what it is that, how you move about, how you relate, how you interact with the world, that it's leaving it a better place at the end of the day. Really living by your internal code, and holding yourself to that with integrity, living with integrity, and also taking full responsibility for your life, and that means the good and the bad. We a lot of times we want to just focus on all the accomplishments, but there is that shadow side that we need to also dig into, where there's work that needs to be done for ourselves, and acknowledging that yes, that I am a work in progress, and then also taking that next step and saying, where is the work, and where can I make those shifts and adjustments in my life, correct course, so that I am more in alignment with my internal code, with the integrity, with that sense of leaving the world a better place than it was the day before, and my contribution to that.
Yeah, so the last thing that I would say about the king is this knowing that everything is always continuous. Everything is always like a continual growing. I remember reading about some older languages. I think it was Burmese was one of them, and how it's impossible to translate things in English, because it was saying like English is a dead language. Everything is like stagnant. Like everything is like has such a definite, like it just is this way, instead of where in reality and in nature things are always changing, things are always growing, and we are always doing that ourselves. Like we set goals for ourselves and we achieve them, but there's always immediately like, everybody always says like, as soon as you achieve a goal, it's always like, all right, what's the next thing?
Right.
There's always like a continually moving, and in that sense, I think a lot of us have this drive to improve and to be better and all this sort of thing, but there's a really incredible thing that happens when you realize that there's never any place that you're going to be that you're just going to be like, okay, I have arrived and that's it. As soon as you do that, then the journey's over. You're no longer growing and there's no more movement anymore. And instead of looking at it in a way that this experience of growing and learning and being a part of this dance is kind of like the whole point, you know. And then I think at that point, then you can really appreciate the new life, and you can really appreciate this cycle that's happening, and it really allows you to appreciate this present moment and what we're creating every day.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
We good about that?
Definitely do.
All right. Sweet. Well, if there's anybody watching in St. Pete, any
Oh, really quick, did we talk about yeah, we did. Sorry. Cut.
Okay, go ahead. Cool. So if there's anybody watching this in St. Pete, any men that are interested in this type of stuff, we're doing something every week called the Sacred Masculine Experiment. We're going to do circuits of different embodiment practices and teachings that last a certain amount of weeks. Coming up pretty soon, we're going to be doing a bioenergetic breathing and body exercises, and learning about the archetypes a little bit more in depth, and doing some role playing with the archetypes. Right. So if any of you guys are interested in being a part of that, find us on Facebook, and we'd love to meet you guys and connect. And I think that's it.
Absolutely. Looking to inspire and be inspired. So we're looking forward to those that are going to show up, and really be able to witness ourselves and each other without judgment.
Yeah. So. I think the thing that we said is raw authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking for it to be a space where you can just let go of the programming for a little bit.
Right, let go of the programming and step in, allow that inner child to really just flourish with curious wonder.
Yeah. All right.
Sweet.
Peace.